All right, guys, it's 2:16, so we're gonna call the meeting to order. Let me just change my note to 2:16. Good afternoon, Dr. Kugler. Welcome to August REMAC. If we could please stand for pledge allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, just a brief moment of silence in memory of all those who passed before us. Thank you very much. So just a point of order, there's a microphone over there. If you need to speak or ask a question, please use the microphone so it could be captured for the recording. Hello and welcome. Happy summer. Hopefully everybody's staying dry and not getting too overheated from the sweltering sun. Just one more thing, we're webcasting for viewing only. This is not, the viewers do not count towards attendance. They don't count towards quorum, but we do have a quorum. We have 10 physicians. Quorum is 5. So with roll call, we'll go based off of the sign-in sheet and what I've taken here. We've received excuses from Dr. Dishner, paramedic Diver, Dr. Hassett, John Hassett Sr., Dr. Politi, paramedic Papsadero, Dr. Bramante, Dr. Harris, Dr. Matthew, Chief Chester, Dr. Joshua Kugler, and Dr. Jatinder Singh. Anybody know of any other excuses or? Okay. With the correction of the June attendance from Todd Haken, or I apologize for the name error. Any other corrections of the minutes or the attendance that were mailed out? Okay, I need somebody to make a motion to approve the minutes and then second. Okay, anybody opposed to approving the minutes? Okay, great. Approved. All right. Our meeting's over. I'm just kidding. All right, so going over correspondence. Sadly, I have to read a ton of things, Bureau of Enforcement letters into the minutes. There's a lot this month. So starting at the top, Brent Paler from Geneva, New York, EMT 498549. Was revoked and annulled effective 5/21/24. Not allowed to seek any recertification, license, registration, or certificate from the Department of Health in the future for violation of 10 NYCRR Part 800.16A5. Nicholas Shepard, EMT 437071 from Buffalo, revoked effective 5/16/24 for violations of Part 800.16A5. Cody Minig from Holland Patient, New York, 428807. Assessed the civil, was suspended for 3 years, effective 5/15/24. Suspension is stayed pending a 3-year period of successful probation without further violations. Assessed a civil penalty of $4,000. Of that, $2,000 is stayed pending successful probation. Must complete ACLS and PALS at the direction of his medical director for violation of 800.16A2, 800.16A3. Brent Allspack, Pine Bush, New York, 478335. Suspended for 1 year, effective 5/6/24. The suspension is stayed pending no further violations for a period of 3 years. Assessed a civil penalty of $2,000. Of that, $1,000 shall be stayed pending no further violations during the period of probation for violation of Part 800.16A1. Kyoko Saito, East Northport, New York, 473647. Surrendered effective 5/13/24 for violation 800.16A2 and 3. Benjamin D. Miller, 307329 from Messina, New York, revoked effective 7/3/24 for a violation of part 800.16A1, 2, 3, 9, and 11. Very busy. Gary Radazik, Oneida, New York, 273-857, surrendered effective 7/2/24 for violation of part 800.3 AM. James Schofield, 386652, New Paltz, New York, surrendered effective 7/15/24 for violation of part 800.3 AL, violation of previous stipulation and order. Wow, okay. Laura Mastran, Cuono, Grenville, New York, 194997, surrendered effective 6/5/24 for violation of part 800.16A2, A3, A4, A9, 800.15, A1, and A3. Lastly, Brian Torres, 266-687 from Spencerport, New York, suspended for 1 year effective 8/2/24 for violations of probation from a previous stipulation and order. All these are listed on the New York State website. Wow, all right, I need a drink of water just for that. Other incoming correspondence. There ongoing QA issues. We've received notifications or emails that the investigations are ongoing from the State Bureau of EMS. This was approved. It's here. We received a letter requesting the establishment of the medical directors from Northwell Health EMS to become field physicians. That'll be brought up under new business. We received a letter from the Woodbury Fire District Medical Director about an inquiry. The Bureau of EMS New York State Bureau of EMS has removed the Hempstead Fire Department from service after an agency inspection. And the REMSCO ED Chair, Dana Cordopasso, scheduled quarterly meetings with hospital representatives. If you haven't received an invite and you're a member of the ED committee, please reach out to somebody so we can get you on that list. For outgoing communications, requesting the Bureau of EMS to complete their quality investigations and report out. It's been a while. Requesting Nassau County Medical Control to provide monthly eBridge use compliance reports. Requesting summary of closures of ongoing issues and a letter in response to the Woodbury Fire District Medical Director. So chairman reports, as you've heard, lots of issues with New York State. They're really cracking down on quality. They keep hiring new investigators and chiefs for the regions, and they're really holding to their guns in terms of rule adherence. So please make sure your agencies are compliant. It would be terrible to keep losing agencies for things that are preventable. So there were issues with the CrowdStrike data outage, and then again with the NewMake power outage. We lost communications in the region for periods of time. The thing that continued to work was eBridge. So that's very important for the providers to understand that not only is eBridge used as a quality tool for airway, a quality tool to capture communication, but in times of data outage, eBridge wasn't affected by the same outages that all the other systems were that were Microsoft based. And it continued to be up and running, and the hospitals that had computers could receive that were Microsoft based could receive those notifications, and the agencies running the applications on server software could also run the eBridge application. So we were still able to keep track of calls and things. So eBridge is a great tool. We need to continue using it. While I'm on the topic of eBridge, I'll just quickly go over in 2023. It's quite impressive, the numbers. Sorry, I just want to get the exact number. In 2023, for the entirety of the year, there were 15,702 uses of eBridge. Year to date, 2024, it's almost double, 29,840. That's pretty impressive. That just shows how widespread it's being adopted. The hospitals are actually expecting it. This is with the changes that we've made. With that, there were 357 video communications made using eBridge to either medical control or to their various receiving facilities. So it's a wonderful tool. Please continue to use it. Going back down here. Nemesis version 3.5 is up and running and it's killing us. Right? So Don keeps sending out these notifications that PCRs are not getting uploaded. The state removed the restrictions for PCRs to be uploaded until 3.5 kicked in and they put the brakes back on again. Now PCRs are getting stuck at the agency level. And every month, or actually every week now, you're sending out a report about agencies that have a certain amount of PCRs that are stuck. Please it's the agency's obligation and it's the state policy, not our policy, that the agency is responsible to get those PCRs uploaded. Not the region, not the PCR vendor, but the agency. So the agencies must communicate with their PCR vendor to get that stuff uploaded and into the cloud onto ImageTrend so the hospitals can also get it. Because if you can't upload it, you're probably not transmitting it to the hospital. So that's key. And that's important for core measures for a whole bunch of reasons. There was an article in the Pre-Hospital Emergency Care Journal that talked about quality and EMS response time as a measure of quality. It was published in July this year. Basically, there are other things that we need to look at besides just getting there fast. It has to do with taking good care of patients, doing effective, safe, satisfying, equitable, and efficient care. So it's a joint statement policy put out by like 7 agencies and EMS organizations, not just the National Association of EMS Physicians. So I'm going to give this over to our quality chair. Let him have fun with it.
Thank you.
And lastly, just want to remind everybody, Vital Signs is in Rochester this year, October 17th to the 20th. There's going to be pre-conferences for medical directors. If you want to learn how to be a better medical director on quality or how to be a medical director in New York State, it's New York State specific. Please look into that. And for the providers, it's a great way to get your CME for your certification. You get all in one visit. You know, in 3 days, you get all your CME required, all the core stuff. So that's Chairman CMAC. The next CMAC meeting is next month. So there's no report for this meeting. Moving on, QAQI, Dr. Zazo.
Before you go to that.
Oh, wait,
just a
yeah.
Question on eBridge. It sounds like we're getting an awful lot of notifications. Have you received the report from?
I was gonna bring that
medical
up
control?
under the, actually, there's an eBridge report in here.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I was gonna bring that up there, but no, we haven't gotten it yet. We've asked, that's one of the reports pending. That was one of the outgoing emails to medical control. So well, I'll bring it up under eBridge. So QAQI.
Good afternoon, everybody. We had a very robust meeting today earlier. Several cases that we have closed that we had quality issues come up, one of which was an obvious death pronouncement. That wasn't an obvious death. Leave it at that. There was a trauma bypass issue that we're working on from one hospital to another, and several airway issues with an agency currently under both QAQI and New York State investigation. And we'll further give information on that once it's light. But otherwise, we are expanded, and anybody else that's interested in joining, but we have a very large group now, and I think a very robust committee. And we look forward to any issues that may come up. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to RSI Airway, Dr. Newberg.
Hi, everybody. We met right after the QAQI committee, got a lot of business done in a short period of time, which was good. New agency approved for RSI, Lead on Lookout Fire District. We had 4 new RSI medics approved, all members of the New Hyde Park Fire Department. We're still working on medics for Glen Cove. We just need to get them a class, and we have another medic that was tabled due to had the right requirements, but not the number of years as a paramedic. So we're going to revisit that discussion in the future. But because of that, we tabled that one application. For IGEL, just to be a seconded motion that we need to approve when we do new business, New Hyde Park Fire Department. Oh, we already had that one. So New Hyde Park Fire Department was already approved the previous REMAC meeting, but we hadn't had an airway meeting yet. So New Hyde Park was approved as a IGEL committee, as an IGEL agency for BLS. And then Lawrence Cedars Curtis Fire Department, for some reason, got lost in the shuffle. So we just need to approve them under new business. We agreed at the airway committee that they could also participate. For the IGEL, we had 3 cases that we reviewed from all from Glen Cove, all successful. The lesson that we got from that is just to make sure that we teach the BLS providers to not only get a numeric end-tidal CO2, but also get the waveform. All of them had end-tidal CO2 documented, but not all of them had waveforms. And it may be also a way the monitors are set up, the life packs. So we're going to work with Dr. Silver and just take a look to make sure that that's set up properly for them. The eBridge airway quality form that we initiated, we started getting the data back. It's actually very good data. There's a lot of data there that we are going to start looking at, but just in the kind of 1,000-foot view, no major red flags. We didn't see any missed esophageal intubations. There was of the initial blush of the data. Actually, it's very good. We had actually a robust discussion at the airway committee meeting about, making sure that if we do an RSI, that we're doing it right. And then that expanded to a bigger discussion of making sure that we're looking at all airways, because we want to be sure that medics can maintain that as a skill, and we want to be sure that we're teaching the right information. So all of that so far from the eBridge form is looking good, and we appreciate everyone participating in that. A few questions that came up. One, the doctor's license number. We're still going to ask for the doctor's license number. However, if you can't obtain it, you can, it's optional. We don't want you arguing with somebody, but honestly, every doctor should know their license number. We were talking about Dr. Barris, and like I said, you could Google that and get that information. So we really just want to make sure that there is an interaction between the medic and the doctor. We don't want that to be one where there's an argument or misunderstanding. Dana around? Oh, there. No Dana, sorry, my bad. So we did talk to Dana Cordopasso from the ED, she's like the ED committee person. We're going to continue to make sure we're educating the hospitals on why we want that information, and that it's for quality assurance only, and it's not something that, I think the doctors were concerned about having to take responsibility, which is not what we're asking. We're just asking that they verify yes or no. So we're still working on that. The other thing, the other information from that we were working on is just if two questions came up, if one medic intubates somebody and then a second medic comes and that medic then gets the tube, should there be 1 or 2 forms? There should technically be 2 forms. Each medic should fill out a form for their attempt. You shouldn't be filling out the form for someone else's attempt. The other question that came up was, what if it's a field termination? In the doctor's section, you would either write medical examiner or field termination. So that way we know that it was a field termination, because clearly if it's a field termination, there's not a doctor to sign that. So those 2 questions came up. That's the answers that came back from our committee. And then the last thing is that Suffolk County at their REMAC meeting, their subcommittee for RSI approved basically 100% educational reciprocity with us. So while our committee is still approving each individual case, we both agreed now across the border that if we take the Suffolk County class, and actually they invited a number of our medics, the 4 that got approved got invited to Suffolk County's class from Suffolk County. They're trying to support us. So they invited them to our class. So they agree that when we have our class, that anyone that takes our class, that will meet the educational requirements for the folks in Suffolk County. So that's a good setup. We still have to look into to our west, to New York City, because we had a discussion about the FDNY rescue medics like two meetings ago. Just making sure that their educational requirements match up. So we're still working on that, but the idea would be that we have regional reciprocity with education to make sure that we're all supporting each other. So that's what came up in a meeting. It was so just that one thing that just has to go to for the IGEL for Lawrence Cedarhurst when we do new business.
Okay.
Any questions about the eBridge airway committee forum? There's been a lot. I'm hoping that we're past that and everyone understands that the data is very helpful, and it's making the information we're looking at from the committee more robust to make sure we're doing the right thing. So it's very good that we have that data. I had none of that before. Hey, thanks. Appreciate everything.
Thanks, Dr. Newbert. All right, Dr. Ryan, Protocol Subcommittee.
Yes, we met last Tuesday and we had really 3 items on the agenda. The first one was the easiest, that was TXA. The RTAC has not recommended that in our region, so we are not moving forward that at this point. The second one was kind of the longest conversation, and that was the use of IV nitroglycerin in the field for congestive heart failure. It's kind of a long discussion about it. I reached out to our neighbors in Suffolk County. Suffolk County is not utilizing it. We discussed in our county that it might be useful for the patient, so we didn't want to obstruct the availability. We also didn't want to put a burden on the system for additional training and additional resources that may not be easily available. There's a long discussion about what size bottle to get, and where to get it, and how it could be obtained. So all that aside, kind of our conclusion was that we think it's medically useful. The dose is reasonable. Use 200 to 400 mites per minute in the ER, which is 0.2 to 0.4 milligrams. The dose for the field is 0.1, which is much less than a sublingual nitroglycerin tablet. So we thought it was a reasonable dose. It could be used several times. So the end of the discussion was basically we think it should be available if trained and if it's available in your agency. And I think that'll have to come forward to a vote later, right, Dave? It'll come
Yeah, so
forward.
we can make the protocol change in the manual,
Okay, so we don't need to do a vote on that at this point, though?
under new business.
Okay, on the new business, good, okay. Final issue was just a matter of housekeeping. We have a list of regional treatments, and we just voted to update those regional treatments to go along with what's in the collaborative protocols and what we've already added in the past. And that was really just a matter of housekeeping. So that's it for my report.
I just have a question about the nitro.
Yeah.
Was there any discussion about using the nitro only with a med pump or with a
Control.
no,
It's an IV push dose.
it's an IV push dose?
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I mean, the protocol that came down from the state didn't have the option for an IV drip dose.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I forgot.
Any other questions for Dr. Ryan?
It's a one-time push dose or like a push dose is continuous or one-time push dose?
It's a one-time dose, right? Well, it's a one-time, it can be repeated,
Right.
but it's a one-time dose. It's almost like giving you multiple sublingual tablets when you have CHF. It's a little bit on the low side. Some places recommend up to 2 milligrams, some places even 10 milligrams. So they're using a 0.1, so it's a fairly low dose. So I don't think it'd be a problem.
The biggest issue is just the large glass bottle.
Which is not.
Yeah.
Violations carried.
Right, and there apparently is one, a smaller one that's more expensive that we were talking about, so that's just a matter of working with the medical director to secure which version of the nitro.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, in the field and in ERs, I mean, it's not used as much as you would think. I mean, a lot of times sublingual nitros will be equally as effective. So I'm not sure how often it will be used, but we think if it might benefit a patient, there's no point in not having it available.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ryan. One more pile of that here. So credentials subcommittee, there is a letter we received from Northwell Health that'll be brought up under new business. When that gets brought up, I'm going to excuse myself from the discussion and the vote because I'm on the letter to avoid any conflicts. Protocol subcommittee, policy subcommittee, sorry, Doctors Bramante and Dishner, they're both excused from the meeting. Does anybody have anything for the policy subcommittee? Okay, no report. RTAC? Nothing. Okay. So just with regards to eBridge, again, I mentioned in my chairman's report, the amazing amount of usage of the eBridge tool and how useful it was during the outages. I think we need to continue to encourage our providers to use it. It just keeps showing its utility at every turn, and now we have the Airway QA tool. It's just a wonderful service, and I think that we need to make sure that the hospitals now start using their part of it. And I'm gonna speak to Dana Cortopasco about that at the next ED committee meeting to see when the hospitals are gonna start maximizing the in-house side of this, or they can notify the hospital teams if needed. Because there's one half of this tool that's not being used yet, that's already been paid for. There is a policy that was mentioned, that was discussed, that was created, with regards to tracking e-bridge non-compliance or non-usage. We're just waiting for the report from medical control to get to the committee. So we could look at non-compliance and why. We want to know if it's a training issue, if it's an equipment issue, if it's I'm not gonna do it issue. Sometimes patients are very sick and you're by yourself and you don't have the bandwidth to operate your phone and may take care of the patient and do BBM we get it, we understand. Sometimes you're a crew of one, and you have a very sick patient in front of you. So what do you have to pick and choose, but we need to keep track as to why. And we need to carve out the exceptions to make sure that's not happening more frequently than just the exceptions. So that's, I skipped ahead here. So policy, RTAC, communications, we did. So Nassau EMS redesign tag, Dr. Newbert or Chief Utero?
Still uploading.
Chief, anything?
Or redesign.
Like the
report back from the county commission.
how's the legislative EMS changes and
Basically, the best I can report, because I'm kind of gonna make my somewhat final report, is we had this committee for the past, I guess, 2 years. It was a large committee. I know a lot of folks here were part of that committee. I came up with many ideas. But equal to the ideas and sadly far surpassing the ideas was complaints, mudslinging, and childish antics. And unfortunately, it's really gone nowhere. I had no problem becoming the chairman of the committee. I like to make positive changes and I see problems, and I'm hoping that maybe I could be a part of finding solutions and fixing these issues. We put together, the county purchased a $500,000 True Force system through ARPA funds. And that was so you can enable the ability to have all of the providers, not just EMS, but fire as well, show their assets, being fire trucks, engines, ladders, rescues, ambulances, EMS response cars. To say that the participation in that has been lackluster would be an insult to lackluster. It is, the county consistently asks me for updates. The county IT worked extensively hard on this, asked me for updates. I have a list that basically barely fills a page of departments that have engaged in the crew force. Again, there's been a lot of an unbelievable amount of misconceptions, a lot of falsehoods. The goal of it is to make sure that we all agree we don't have 2 ambulances going to the same call. Or we have 2 ambulances going to a very important call, to make sure that there's an availability to make sure that people in need receive what they need and get transported to the hospital safely. Again, for reasons I don't understand and I don't want to try to attempt to guess, there's been a lot of ambivalence about signing up with this. Every excuse in the book has been used, from I don't want people spying on me to I don't want people to know where I go when I'm off hours. Answers have been established and given, and unfortunately, we haven't gotten there. With the cricket match, we did get an uptick in a couple of departments that signed on, because we kind of made it a requirement to sign on with assets. Some departments signed on for the day and quickly got off. We had an EMS system, Northwell, that signed on, which serves several different fire departments. That thus far has worked well. So that was a positive highlight, but that was also followed by my own union trying to get me thrown out of my union because I was engaging with an outside resource. So that's the kind of stuff that has been faced, unfortunately, with this entire thing. We identified a common shared frequency. We were hoping to maybe get people to migrate over to it. Before we can even get the word migrate out of our mouths, it was met with resistance. I don't want to leave my frequency. Nassau County the fire service has 23 different dispatch agencies in addition to Firecom. They have probably upwards of dozens of frequencies that they use. And we all have the common misunderstanding of why we can't talk to each other. So we were trying to establish that, but as I was saying, I don't want to belabor it, but there was a lot of good points in there. You know, trying to find a way to stop the abuse of the EMS system. But we were so busy fighting about all the other stuff, that's yet to even move forward. Where many other counties and municipalities have moved forward with aggressive programs of posters and public service announcements about when to call an ambulance and when to call a taxi, when to go to a urgent care or when to go to the hospital. So some of those things got sadly overshadowed by all the other bickering. The final report was issued. I sat with the county executive's office. Obviously, they want to put a positive spin on things as best they can. So we amended and maybe dulled some of the sharp edges of it. We put that policy out. And again, I leave it up to the participants that received that, the people that sat on that committee that said we have a problem, we need to fix it. And I would be much happy to sit here and say today that 2 years later, we identified these problems collectively as a group, and hopefully we can offer solutions. But, you know, obviously I'm here to answer any questions, but it really, it's been a utter disappointment for me to see something that I thought had a positive beginning. We did get rid of things we identified when we first came on with Firecom. There were fire departments that had do not respond locations that numbered in the hundreds, if not maybe thousands. We got rid of all those. We now put a policy in place that only if there's a serious safety concern, but even that, we're all taught, including myself, I've been in EMT and don't ask me to work on you, since 1997. And one of the policies that gets reiterated every 3 years when I go through my research is make sure the scene is safe, call the police department. We have a great police department in Nassau County that will make sure the scene is safe. But there are 2 or 3 locations that fire chiefs have approached us. We put it in the system, but I'm glad to say we erased all those, the thousands so on, you know, locations that they weren't responding to. So it's not tilted in any, you know, favor or any accusation towards any one group. I think collectively, the group that met as a committee made a mandate to make it better. And again, some of the tools have been put forward. You know, I'm kind of done trying to be the used car salesman and trying to sell crew force. People probably think I'm on their payroll, trying to get them to cooperate. We came up with yet another new thing with IT that we can export the Firecom CAD data screens, which is a map of Nassau County of active calls and a listing of all the active calls, including literally to the second of when the call is getting put together and sent out, whether it goes to a secondary dispatch agency, whether it gets bounced back to the police department for emergency ambulance bureau dispatch. On that one, we have a resounding 3 agencies that jumped on board with that: Suffolk County Fire and Nassau County OEM, and of course our fire marshal's office. That is open to just an MOU. The only thing you got to pay for is a computer screen. And you can see it. Obviously, we don't want it in someone's living room, but for any agency, from a hospital to an EMS agency to a fire agency, any of the partners, situational awareness, shared information is the key to making things work better. So these things are out there, and that's the best I can report. The good news is the money has been spent. Some ideas were pushed to the not just to the drafting area, but to the completion level. And I'm hoping that, you know, with some of you folks in the room that represent multiple different agencies, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there was a group I didn't meet with. I met with the fire districts, the Firemen's Association, different EMS agencies, the Fire Commission, and it goes on. And everybody seems excited, but it never crosses the line into. And if you've ever seen flight radar, or when you're trying to track airplanes, tracking United, Delta, and Continental, or they might not even be in business anymore, but but that being said, the app is only going to be as good as everybody that gets on board. It's not meant to point fingers. It's meant to say, do I know what ambulance is going there? Do I know how I can better direct resources? Definitely trying my damnedest. I know I've had Don Hudson do several different inquiries, trying to talk to different EMS agencies about getting on board. Again, to be like a cheerleader for this, because it was and it is a great technology. So that is basically, I hate to be the doomsdayer, I wish I had a better report, but that's where it's at, and that's where the level of, at least personally for me, my frustration. People have asked me when we have the next EMS meeting. I said, when someone comes to me with a solution, so when someone comes to me with something that they want to bring up that they find we're gonna fix, I am not gonna waste 5 minutes of my time personally sitting on a committee when all we're gonna do is rehash what's already been hashed. And sling mud, try to knock down any agency. I think we should build each other up. EMS is under fire. EMS is definitely needs a push in the right direction. Needs money, needs funding, needs volunteers, needs people. But you know, sitting in committees and beating each other up really doesn't solve that problem. At least for my 36 years in the fire service. So that's where we're at. I have copies of the report. If anybody wants to read it, it's out there. I haven't got any complaints that it was erroneous. And I sure do hope that one day it gets implemented and it doesn't become yet another appendix of a future misguided report. So that's all I got.
Chief, that was great. Thank you.
All right, thank
You presented a lot of great information, a lot of positives, and a lot of opportunities for growth. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the chief?
What's that?
I was asking if anybody had any questions for you. Okay. So time for the illustrious Remsco chairman.
All right.
Charles May.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. Since our last meeting, in June, the committees, in Remsco, many committees have been meeting, with that. We had, on June 27th, we had a disaster planning and MCI, rollout. We had about 30, members, agencies, representatives, show up at that. We discussed, the rollout of the MCI plan, with our chairman, Kevin O'Hara, myself, Don, and the others, Zach Goldfarb. And we had a very good turnout. Like I said, 30 members. Once again, we looked at it. The training program is going to be designed to be rolled out to the agencies, and the agencies will then implement it through their agency trainers, train the trainer type program for them to bring it out to their membership. We're working to build it for not only EMS, but for fire, communications, hospital-based, and the academies to roll it out to their new EMTs and stuff with that. So we're continuing to meet. We're planning on having a meeting in the next several weeks or so to get back on track and see if we can complete the training program and stuff with that. The membership committee is once again looking at the membership within the council. We are pretty much full as far as the council membership. Alternates, we have a couple of openings that are currently being filled. They're also working on our roles to make sure that people are attending the meetings, and also looking towards the elections coming up at the end of this year with that. The legislative committee is currently working on review of the council bylaws and any legislative issues, coming up with some stuff and reviewing it, as it's supposed to be done every 2 years, with a discussion to be held in September, and then adoption of any changes to the Remsco bylaws in November. Been working, once again, I want to thank Dawn and the rest of the executive board. We've been working on completing the program agency as well as the Remsco Council budget to submit to New York State for reimbursement on that, both for the county as well as to the council to take care of that. As you said, Hempstead Fire Department failed their agency inspection and therefore is currently suspended from operating at this time. As we know, that most of the area is being covered by Northwell predominantly anyway. We're working on an EMS awards dinner looking at October. My Vice Chairman, Dave Caldor, has been working on securing some different venues and stuff to host it, and looking at the prices, and we're going to sit down and work on getting that set up so that we can honor all of those award members that received awards and stuff for the 2023 year. As you said, the EPCR 3.5 platform is up and running. Dawn's been sending out weekly, the PCR reports, to the agencies to verify with the number of calls that they're having. As you said, the agencies are responsible to make sure that those are being, received by New York State and taking care of that with their vendors, and also using it for agency quality assurance, to make sure that we're, giving the best product, to the, residents of Nassau County. Other than that, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 4th, 1400 hours here at the Public Safety Center. All are welcome, and it will be posted up on the website for viewing live streaming. That's all I have.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Any questions for the chair? Anything, is Dana here, anybody representing ED committee? No, okay. EMS coordinator. Don Hudson.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, the EMS coordinator's report continues to go out every Friday, along with the Nassau County Fire Line and other associated documents. All providers are reminded that they should be getting that from their agency's designated EMS manager. If that's not occurring, please let us know so we can figure out where that, break in the line of communications is. As we still struggle with communications. So, the manifestation of that currently is there was a National Pediatric Emergency Preparedness Survey that's been circulated via that report for months. Last Friday was the closure of that, along with the publication of agencies that did not participate. So again, if your EMS agency is not getting the communication, please let us know. If your manager is not forwarding that, please let us know. The intent again is to get every provider the right information to make good decisions and assist their agency both from top down and bottom up in success. Let's see, so to some of the state stuff. So the next program agencies, SEMSCO and CMAC meetings are September 9/16, 9/17, and 9/18 respectively. The SEMSCO and CMAC, as you know, are live streamed, so you can watch that, or they're also video archived. The EMS, the state EMS Memorial is 9/19, so that's that Thursday of the state meeting week. That's in Albany, for those that want to either live stream that and view it, or better yet, if you've never been up there, it's quite a sight to see, and a really tragic, while at the same time honorable way to acknowledge those that we've lost over the course of the last year. This year, the memorial has been expanded and upgraded, so that will also be the first time that names are placed on that expanded memorial, which, if you haven't again been up there, sits right outside the governor's mansion, really the state capitol, if you will, there in the near the reflecting pools of the state capitol. A lot of names going on there, particularly from the FDNY. 9/11 still seems to haunt many of us, as it probably will do for some time to come. And that being said, as always, happy to help, and hope I'm helping whenever I can. Door's always open, and by that I mean email. As you probably won't find me in the office as much as you might think you would. So if you want to come and drop by, take your chances. If you want to shoot me an email, we can find time to meet virtually, in person, or otherwise. Thank you.
Any questions for the coordinator? Just so, I have to just praise your work. Not only do you, wear the hat as the county EMS coordinator under the chief fire marshal's office, you run the fire police academy, you run the program agency, you're like the glue that keeps all the different things together. So I can't say it enough at every meeting. I just want to make sure that everybody understands how hard you work and how much, at least I appreciate everything you do to help us. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's see, we did the chief fire marshal's update already. I sort of skipped around. Going down to unfinished business, there were some quality issues that we talked about in QA/QI, E-Bridge updates we gave. Is there any other old business that we need to bring up? Okay, hearing none, nothing that I've forgotten. Okay, and then new business.
Oh, yeah, great. Question in the
Yes.
I think our next meeting might interfere with ASAP. National meeting.
Okay, well, I mean,
Not sure if that
I can't,
matters,
I
but-
can't afford to go, so I don't go to Vegas. Not everybody's luxury, has luxury to, actually, I think it's in Las Vegas, right? But, if we don't have a quorum, then we'll have to postpone the meeting, but I don't think everybody goes. So, throw a dollar on the roulette wheel for us.
Okay.
All right, so under new business, just starting with, something I have to excuse myself from is, Northwell Health sent a letter requesting to, establish their medical directors as field physicians. The medical directors are Dr. John Berkowitz, Dr. Paul Barbara, Dr. Greg Gara, Dr. Matthew Harris, who's a REMAC member, Dr. Devin Howell, and myself. I'm already a field physician. Dr. Berkowitz, Dr. Barbara, Dr. Harris, and Dr. Howell are all board certified EMS and EM. Dr. Gara's EM. Dr. Harris and Dr. Howell are EMS fellowship trained. Everybody's been doing EMS for quite some time, so their credentials are quite nice. And there's just one little kicker in this. I'll leave this bit of information and then I'm going to excuse myself from the conversation. Is that Dr. Barbara and Dr. Gara haven't taken the paramedic test yet to provide medical control, so they can't be until they complete that part of the credentialing process. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Zaza.
Okay, so what we'll do is the two physicians that are not, have not taken the exam yet, I'll mention them, we'll vote to provisionally approve them pending their paramedic exam. The other ones will vote to approve. So we'll take the four, that are already, that have taken the exam, Dr. Berkowitz, Dr. Matthew Harris, Dr. Devin Howell, and Dr. David Kugler, who's already, but we'll put him in the vote, have met the requirements for Nassau County online medical control as a field physician. Can I have a motion to approve? And second, Dr. Kirshen, great, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? That carries. All right, the second part, we'll take Dr. Barbara and Dr. Gara for,
Just, sorry to interrupt, breaking news, Dr. Barber is seemingly currently trying to take every exam there is on the website. Dr. Barber, if you're listening, or somebody can text him, remind him he only has to take the paramedic one.
that way, certified.
I was literally looking at it right
Sit through the New York City Bremsco one, so we should make him take every one.
We don't want to deter your passion, but you'll have to take the paramedic. I get it. Thank you for your efforts.
All right, very good. So, all right, assuming, all right, we'll still do that as provisional until we get the grade.
Yeah.
Dr. Barbara, Dr. Gara will be provisionally approved pending their passing the Nassau County paramedic exam. Do I have a motion? Yeah,
Question.
sure.
What's like provisional? What does that mean exactly?
They're temporarily online medical control, that if they now don't pass the exam, they get to lose their.
So we've done that in the past for other providers, other physicians.
Okay.
Where you said, what upon completion or satisfaction of the regional requirements, you just move into the slot, so this way we don't have to have another meeting and have another vote.
Okay.
And
just wasn't sure if
this way they, until they meet those requirements, they're not field physicians, but as soon as they do, if this body chooses, they'll slide in when they complete the test.
Okay.
But I'll leave that up to you guys to decide.
All right, so any questions on that, or, all right, we have a motion? Dr. Kirshen? Okay, good. And second, okay, we go. Great, all in favor? Okay, any abstentions? Any against? Okay, that carries. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So this passes. Next thing is, the Legal Point Lookout Fire District for RSI.
Yep.
That comes as a seconded motion from the Airway Committee. I believe their medical director was at the meeting, the Airway Committee meeting. Airway Committee approved it. Just need, so it comes as a second, so we'll just have a vote. Anybody in opposition to Lido and Point Lookout Fire District becoming an RSI agency? Anybody abstain? So we'll do this in the affirmative so that everything passes. It didn't need a second because it came as a seconded motion. And then again, coming as a seconded motion from the Airway Committee, New Hyde Park was previously approved as an IGL, so actually we don't have to vote on that.
Just
Lawrence
Cedarhurst.
Cedarhurst, coming as a seconded motion to become a BLS IGL agency. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay, so that passes. And then now, from the protocol committee, we need this body, it comes as a seconded motion, so we just need this body to vote in the affirmative or not, whether we're going to allow regional IV nitroglycerin in accordance with New York State collaborative protocols. Is there anybody against that motion? Anybody abstaining? Okay, so that passes. And were there any other housekeeping changes?
The medication,
Just the
the-
page.
Oh, right.
yeah.
So did that get sent out to the committee?
It was attached.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, so the committee should have received an updated regional approved treatments. That was not seconded yet, so I need a second. Dr. Shearson and Dr. Newberg. Okay, then anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay, great, so that passes. Okay, so this is great, everybody's so agreeable. All right, so the last thing that's always in order is a motion to adjourn at the end of our meeting. Dr. Zazo, second. Pearson, great, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, safe summer.